Hello friends, I'm Rod. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's my first video. I'm a little excited, and today I'd like to talk about the issue with capitalism, right? So capitalism has always existed throughout the history. I mean, even before modern capitalism was born, there were early forms of capitalism in the past. And when you look at capitalist economies, they're always the best. You look at a country like the United States that has the biggest GDP in the world, right? It's number one economy in the world due to capitalism. So economically speaking, capitalism isn't bad. It isn't as bad as you think. For example, uh, when you look at a capitalist economy, we always think about private ownership. We always think about lower taxes. We always think about deregulation and not a very centralized economy, not a very centralized government. And the role of the government in the economy is very limited. And private ownership is encouraged to take place of the government, to care for the people, to care for people's needs. And this basically encourages people to invent, to open up startups, to start businesses. So there's this encouragement in capitalism. And because of this encouragement, because there is this ambition, there's this motivation to go forward and to earn money, to make profits, people just start opening businesses, and this in turn establishes a competition-based economy, right? So a competition-based economy is basically, imagine thousands of companies in various industries competing for profits. This might be tech industry, this might be some other industry. And that's basically the thing. That's, economically speaking, that's why capitalism has always been superior to many other systems. I mean, even if you look at countries that had a communist past, like Ireland, for example, when they transitioned into a free market economy in the 1960s, their economy just grew. Right now, they have the second biggest GDP per capita in the world. And this is because they lowered taxes, they lowered regulations, and this paved the way for multinational companies to set their operations in Ireland, such as Apple, right? So that's one of the reasons why capitalism, economically speaking, is superior. Another example of this would be Singapore. I wrote an article about this. So Singapore, like Ireland, wasn't a very developed economy, and it was very centralized, especially after the British left Singapore. The place just became very, very poor, and the slums grew in the area, and the country was in general very poor until they elected a new government. They elected a new prime minister who changed everything. First, he improved the social housing. He built many apartment buildings, many residential buildings for people to live in. Second, he lowered taxes for corporations to come and invest into Singapore and to start operating in Singapore, which they did, and to this day they do. This lowered the unemployment rate in Singapore, and this also increased the economy, the GDP of Singapore. Right now, Singapore is like smaller than New York City, but right now they have one of the biggest economies in the world. They're, I believe, in the 33rd place in terms of GDP rankings. So economically speaking, as you can see, capitalism is very superior. But the problem starts, right? The problem starts when you look at the society as a whole. You look at the society, you look at income inequality, then you start seeing the problems with capitalism. Let's take an example of income inequality, right? So capitalist countries like Singapore itself or the United States, they're very income unequal, meaning that there is a very large gap between the rich and the poor. Now, this is because of there's a lack of progressive taxation in these countries, and the gap, basically, this is the gap, right? The gap increases between the rich and the poor, and the more it extends, the worse the situation becomes for people. Right, the crime rates increase, the poverty rates increase, and people age quickly, and so many more problems arise when the income inequality levels uh, increase and when the gap extends. So for this reason, there needs to be a proper taxation of individuals in accordance to what they earn, and getting rid of the tax loopholes. And that's number one thing that capitalism has, which is an issue. The second issue that capitalism has is the homelessness rate or the drug addiction. These are problems that are existent due to income inequality levels, right? So because there isn't a proper taxation, the government doesn't really invest in social welfare programs. In social democracy countries, for example, you look at most of the Western Europe or Central Europe, you see that what they do is basically they collect taxes, and then they put those taxes in various funds like unemployment benefits, healthcare, education, etc., which benefits the taxpayers themselves. And this in turn reduces the income inequality rate, and it reduces the poverty rate, it reduces the homelessness rate, it reduces drug addiction, and many more problems. So as you can see, the main problem, I believe, in capitalism that should be solved is about the society. Capitalism should work towards the society to make it better. This way, we have a very, very superior system that combines great economic output and also has the backing of the society because it provides for it.